Imagine this, you're Sean Diddy Combs, one of the most famous figures in music history. You've sold millions of records, built an empire worth hundreds of millions, partied in private jets, and lived in the kind of luxury most people only see in movies. For decades, your name has been synonymous with success, power, and influence. But now, none of that matters. Every morning, instead of waking up to silk sheets and ocean views, you open your eyes to cold steel bars, a thin mattress, and a tray of food so foul it could make anyone gag. Rotten, expired, crawling with maggots. That's not an exaggeration, that's exactly what Diddy claims is happening to him in prison. And he's not just saying it's bad, he's saying it's inhumane. He says every day, he's served meals that look like they've been pulled from a dumpster, food that's unsafe to eat, with a stench so strong you can smell it from across the cell block. But that's only the beginning of what he calls his nightmare behind bars. Picture this, since the day he was locked up, he says he hasn't been outside. Not once. No sunlight on his face. No fresh air. No open yard. Just the same artificial fluorescent light 24/7, a constant glare that messes with your body, your mind, your sense of time. No day. No night. Just endless sameness. His lawyers call it sensory deprivation. He says it feels like being trapped in a box with the walls closing in, and remember, this isn't just anyone. This is a man who built his image on excess, glamour, and freedom, now stripped of all of it. No designer clothes. No five-star meals. No private chefs. He even says he's been denied basic grooming items, things like hair dye or proper tools to maintain his appearance. In other words, everything that made him Diddy on the outside is gone inside. But how did we get here? Let's rewind. September 2024, Diddy is arrested. The charges? Serious enough to send shockwaves through the entertainment world. For months, the trial dominates headlines. Cameras catch every court appearance, every lawyer's statement, every move he makes. On July 2, 2025, the verdict comes down. Guilty on 2 counts of transportation for prostitution under the Mann Act. Not guilty on the heavier charges, sex trafficking and racketeering, but still facing real prison time. And that's where this chapter begins. Once inside, Diddy's legal team starts documenting his conditions. They're not keeping this quiet, they're making it public, and they're making it part of his fight. Their argument? The conditions he's facing are so extreme, so unsafe, that they should count as exceptional circumstances and justify letting him serve his sentence at home instead. And when they say home, they're not talking about some small apartment. They mean his Miami mansion, a sprawling, luxury estate that most people would call paradise. Here's their plan: Diddy would live there under strict monitoring, attend counseling for anger and substance issues, and avoid the dangers they say he faces in prison. His team insists he's not asking for freedom, he's asking for safety and dignity. But critics see it differently. They say this is about a wealthy celebrity trying to swap a cell for a palace. And just when it seemed like the case couldn't get more controversial, rumors start flying about a possible presidential pardon. One of Diddy's attorneys claims they've reached out to Donald Trump's team. The idea? That Trump could use his presidential power to cut Diddy's sentence short. But almost immediately, his lead lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, steps in to shut it down, saying there's been no direct contact. Trump himself weighs in publicly, calling a pardon more difficult because of Diddy's past criticism of him. The public is split. Some say this is proof that celebrity influence knows no bounds. Others think it's just political noise. Meanwhile, the clock is ticking toward October 3, 2025, sentencing day. Prosecutors are pushing for 51 to 63 months behind bars. Diddy's team is pushing just as hard for home confinement. And in between, the court of public opinion is having its own trial. Social media is on fire. Some people say no one should have to endure maggot-infested food or months without sunlight. Others argue that regular inmates face far worse, and they don't get to trade their cell for a mansion in Miami. And here's where it gets complicated. If Diddy's lawyers win this battle, it could set a precedent. It could mean that documented poor prison conditions become a stronger argument for alternative sentencing. For ordinary people, that might sound like a good thing. But for critics, it's a dangerous road, one that could be used disproportionately by those with enough money and fame to hire the best legal teams. So here we are. A man who once had everything is now fighting for the smallest freedoms, a decent meal, a ray of sunlight, the ability to breathe fresh air. Whether you see him as a victim of an inhumane system or as a privileged man trying to dodge accountability, the outcome of this case could say a lot about how justice really works in America. Maggot-infested meals. No sunlight. Total isolation. If you were in Diddy's position, would you call this justice or cruelty? Should the rich and famous get special treatment, or should they serve their time under the same conditions as everyone else? Tell me what you think in the comments. Share this with someone who needs to join the conversation. And hit that subscribe button with the notification bell on, because when the next chapter of this story drops, you'll want to be the first to know.